we want a good lead, which is the bottom of the funnel lead. And what AI helps to do is that heavy lifting to move that lead, engage that lead or customer, and help them down through the funnel, build some rapport with the store, introduce them to the salesperson.
What if the key to transforming customer service in your dealership lay in the technology you are hesitant to adopt? Today on Facts Not Feelings, we are joined by David Marod, a pioneer in using AI for automotive retail and the founder of Contactter.AI. Tune in as we explore how artificial intelligence isn't just changing the game, it's setting a whole new playing field for customer interactions, powered by the innovations of Contactter.AI. David, welcome to the show, buddy. How you doing?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me on board.
Oh man, I'm super
Pretty exciting.
stoked for this. Oh my gosh, it's like so. And I would apologize up front that I'm going to get to the store through the show, and the very first time I said David was in the opening, there's no way I will say it the rest of the entire show. It's going to be Marod for the rest of it. So we're just going to set the stage right there.
I think that's plenty fair.
I was like going through like trying to like read the show notes before. I was like, I keep saying Marod, like just go with it, bro. Just go with it.
Perfect.
We'll do it.
You're the inner circle. You can call me Marod.
You know, it works. It just, I think of my phone at this point is just Marod. So no, it's and as we get in this, for those that maybe don't know you, like I'm super stoked to have people see not only who you are and what you do, but the technology that you guys continue to have and to perfect and I've been watching from the sidelines for a bit now and absolutely love it. So we're just going to jump into this bad boy right now. Sure. So can you illustrate how AI technology is being woven into the fabric of customer engagement strategies across the automotive industry?
Sure. It's funny, you know, I was thinking about doing this show and talking with you and some questions that would come up. And it was on just a random customer yesterday, as a matter of fact, was talking about the sales funnel and leads and the quality of leads. And, you know, what separates a lot of leads in general on the variable side of the business is where they are in the funnel and, you know, and how much work it takes to get them from the top of the funnel down to the bottom of the funnel. And that requires, you know, I call it the dirty 4-letter word, but it's work. And it takes that multiple set of omni-channel reaches out, like, you know, I'm emailing, I'm texting, I'm calling. And for salespeople, you know, still to this day, a lot of that work is, you know, we want a good lead, which is the bottom of the funnel lead. And what AI helps to do is that heavy lifting to move that lead, engage that lead or customer, and help them down through the funnel, build some rapport with the store, introduce them to the salesperson, and warm up in that lead so that it's closer to the buying side of the funnel and does that heavy lifting. So that when we talk about engagement, it's about that AI responding to those inquiries for information and helping that customer down the sales funnel. And then on the service, it's similar. Rather than doing a ton of outbound work to remind somebody that it's time to have their vehicle in for service, we can do a lot of that standardized business communication that's pretty mundane. It just takes type into the keystroke and allow the AI to do that for us too, and bring those people in the funnel.
So no joke, right before we jumped on this to record, I was talking to another colleague just about, he's like, hey, what's your take on AI? And I go, I'm all for it. Like, yes, I'm still the human in this situation, but I go, you understand, like the time that I get back or the people I'd have to hire for the job that AI does, like there's, right. I don't know if you could put a price tag on that. Like, I understand I'm still a human, but it makes my job so much easier. It makes the dealership's job, whether it's the BDC, whether it's a sales service, it doesn't matter. You're taking the mundane tasks that really none of us want to do anyways. Like, let's call it like it is. We don't want to be sending the 10,000 text messages or the 20,000 emails that are saying the same thing, and letting someone else do it. And then be like tapping you on the shoulder to say, hey, someone's actually interested. Do you want to reach out now? It just makes everything more seamless.
I couldn't agree with you more. And there's this emotional piece to it for me also. Like, salespeople kind of hate no, and the AI doesn't care if it gets a no. So, you know, it's kind of like it allows more yeses for your human, the humans in the store.
And there's no prejudging either, because we all know we do it. That someone comes in, they're dressed like you wouldn't think they have money, and really they're going to all of a sudden throw down $100,000 on a Corvette or something. I mean, so there's none of that prejudging of it either, which I know we all do it. Like we're all guilty of it at some point in our life. So considering the integrations of AI, what are the top benefits that dealerships can expect from incorporating the technology into their customer service process?
So as you fold it into your process, three things kind of got to happen, right? It's got to be in your tech stack. It's got to integrate into whether that's your DMS and your CRM if you're just doing variable, but it's got to be an integral part of your technology that you're using, and a certified partner at that. And then the other piece of it is it's really got to be able to use your in-store processes today. We can't change everything and turn the store upside down, because then we've got the human factor that doesn't like change. So we want to try to incorporate as much as we can into the current process, integrate it into where we're only using one system of record. For example, I don't want your salespeople or your service advisors having to go into 2 or 3 different systems to mark where a customer is in their life cycle. So we want to make sure that we're having that integration where you keep doing the process you're doing, working out of your CRM, working out of your DMS, and then lastly, making sure we support it as a whole in the store from the top down. The last thing we want is salespeople thinking Big Brother's there watching what they're doing with their client, or if the customer comes back and says, "Hey, I never heard from anybody." Taking that personal. There's a lot of places where the process can get broken. And that simply is, whether it's spam email or whatever happens, we want people to feel supported and using the technology so that it works within their process of the store.
You mentioned something earlier. I've been on the demos with Contactter.AI, but with other demos as well that are AI, and they'll talk a good game. And they'll say it can do everything under the sun. And the biggest pet peeve of mine for when it comes to this is it doesn't integrate with shit. Right. I still have to go now as whatever seat you're sitting in the dealership. I have to log into 2 different platforms. Why? We're making it that more difficult. Now you're putting like a Band-Aid on a bullet hole and saying, "Hey, have the AI do it," but nothing's going to push over correctly. So now I'm going to go on 2 different systems. And that was something I hammered pretty hard on you about this when you're first looking at stuff. I go, "Wait, so I don't have to go into multiple different systems?" You're like, "No, just stay inside of the CRM. You're fine." I was like, "Holy shit. Like, seriously, this is awesome."
I think a couple of things have happened, and to nobody's fault. You look at some of the bigger players in the market today, and they realize their integrations needed to get better on the side of the, whether it's the CRM or the DMS. They've come out now with more sophisticated APIs, different webhooks, things like that. And then you've got a lot of companies, like ours, which is newer into the game. So our system's not built on some of the legacy software or we don't have the tech debt that some of the other vendors do, because we built the system to be on all open APIs, so we can integrate very easily and quickly with the folks out there. And everybody will get there eventually. We just happen to be, I call it kind of I hope this doesn't sound terrible. Rather than the pioneer getting the arrows, we're kind of like the fast follower that just was able to make use of a lot of great new technology and be there right away.
And I know this is not on one of the questions here, but you mentioned something that I just want to set the groundwork of. People are like, "Hey, you're throwing on some terms." We mentioned API. If you're listening to this point, you should know what an API is. That being said, you also said webhook. Quickly explain in layman's term what the difference is between it and why you guys have chosen to go webhook versus just a pure API.
So it wasn't up to us. So most of the CRMs, for example, offer can I say VIN solutions, for example?
Yeah.
Take VIN, for example, to do get their normal data for customer data and customer records. That's an API. To do certain event work, like, getting phone information and login information, these things, those are webhooks. And so if a user wants to get Contactter.AI, for example, and they're a VinSolutions user, they would have to toggle us on in 2 different places in VinSolutions under their partner portal or the partner program. So a few of us are in both places, but I think you'll start to see more and more in both places if you want to have a full integration and be able to kind of handle every aspect of that process in the dealership.
And that was another one that you don't, until you really get in there and look at that portal to say, is that turned on versus the other things, it does make a massive, massive difference. And I go back to sitting on these demos with you and just listening to some of the success stories. And I always love hearing these. And yes, does everyone have, are you human in is the product going to have flaws? Yeah, all products do. That being said, what I've seen so far is the massive success that Contactter.AI has had with other dealerships. So I'd love for you to share about some specific instances where AI or Contactter.AI has dramatically improved customer interactions and satisfactions.
No, we had a really great story happen this weekend that I wanted to tell you about. So unlike some other vendors with AI, again, because we're built kind of open enough, we can have multiple assistants. So with one of our Nissan stores, we just built them a personal assistant for the KBB buyer at the store. So just for the person that's evaluating trades and trying to buy vehicles through KBB's program, we built them their own assistant. And it works marvelously. People have gone through, the assistant has engaged the customer. Customers have been very forthcoming in the information. And then right away, he jumps on. We send an alert to him to let him know that the customer is working. He bought 2 cars on Saturday through the AI. Oh, and he's over the moon. He's like, I got more ideas. Can we do this? Can we do this? And we're like, absolutely. But having a different conversation through a different assistant around, KBB trade-in versus a Car Guru's lead versus a website lead, allowing those to go to different people and streamline the process has really been kind of a remarkable to watch it happen in the specific conversations and the knowledge that changes hands. And you couldn't do that before. So it's been pretty fun to see happen. And then once you have, somebody at the dealership excited about it and wanting to contribute, then you've got a real promoter out there in the field. And we do get a lot of great ideas and information from our customers, and we build that back into the product. So it's like this evolution that occurs from our customers having success and then coming up with ideas around how to do more. Occasionally we say, no, we're not building that.
That's a suggestion. That suggestion was rejected. Thank you very much.
Exactly. But we do get a lot of great ideas.
Well, and I love that you can customize the tool to say, hey, I want KBB. I've got a client that they're doing more of a used car buying center. And so how those KBB leads come in, it goes to someone else. And so being able to now, once again, give the time back to individuals trying to handle this and say, hey, we're only going to tap you on the shoulder when something is legit. Let the AI work in the background. I mean, that's because you go into the CRM in general and they're like, okay, do you have a true car process? Do you have a car stock? I mean, those customers are all different. You're still relying on the human to make sure that they're not only the right process, that they don't say something stupid in the email back to them. So having that AI tool, and AI can still make mistakes. Don't get me wrong. AI can still make mistakes. I'm going to trust it way more than a human personally. That's my own opinion. But having them say, okay, now you're in this process. Now you're in this process. And because you clicked on this, now this is going to happen. And that brings me to this next question. And for those that don't know your background with Conversica, it's just, it all flows so well. So I'll say, with your experience with AI tools like Conversica and at Conversica, which now you're at Contactter with Contactter, it offers just an insanely valuable perspective. So how have you seen customer expectations evolve around AI-driven interactions?
I'll give you a prime example, and this is one of the things that comes into a little bit of, it's funny, but we do have a little training and some word tracks. But on Saturday, I had, again, I'll use our KDB guy as an example. He gets busy, so he's not able to stay always on top of the leads or the alerts that are coming in. and a woman had walked in with her, I think it was a Crosstrek Subaru, and ready to trade it in. And she asked for Nancy, and Nancy's the AI. So she went to the receptionist and asked for the AI assistant, and the receptionist didn't quite know what was going on in the store. So she went back to Bart and said, "Hey, there's a woman here for a Nancy in your department." He goes, "Oh yeah, that's my assistant. Send her back." And so I think, the customer expectation sometimes is it's a real person, and it's a real dealership employee. And that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to fool the customer. We're not trying to, we want to be upfront if they ask, but sometimes just those personalized emails, the way they come from the assistant, people assume that it's a real person and they go into the store and ask for them. So we just have to have kind of a methodology like, oh, that's our artificial intelligence assistant, but we have a real human to help you.
Well, to your point, like this is going back to Conversica days. And I had a client, this is at least, it may have been 15 years ago, and they had scrapped their CRM pretty much completely. They had an Excel doc they used as a CRM, and they had no BDC. They had one point of contact to like oversee when the AI needed to jump in. Conversica ran everything. And the main reason was the CRM that they had and the DMS they had, everything was getting marked as spam. So they could not send a single email to any, they were blacklisted everywhere. And so Conversa came in and was able to, one, you're saving a lot of money on, I'm not saying blow up your BDC. I'm not trying to say that. For them, it worked because, hey, we can't send emails anyways. And so this is the only way we can communicate. And people would always come in and ask for whoever, whatever they named the tool, but it would always come up. Yeah, oh, we're asking for so and so. I'm like, oh yeah, well that's so over here. Let me help you on this one.
Yeah, it was. It's been fun to watch that whole evolution take place.
That's so cool. All right, so let's go over to the operational side a little bit of things on this for a hot second. How is data and analytics reshaping the way dealerships operate today, given everything that you know at this point?
So, interesting question. I just had this discussion through a series of conversations, but your CRM still gives you analytics as well as your DMS, right? The one thing though, which I think is a really important way for a dealership to kind of keep their lead providers honest, is what we refer to as engagement. And to measure engagement, I have to know that I had the lead come in, the AI answered the lead, and then the lead answered the AI. So a true two-way communication, and we track that as an engaged lead. So now we used to track like open rates and like how many, I sent you 100, Mr. Dealer, I sent you 100 leads this month. Well, we didn't sell any cars, but that's not, maybe that's part of my process or part of a myriad of variables when it comes to selling a car, right? But now if we say, look, you didn't even have much engagement with those leads, so the quality of the lead was pretty low. And then you've got the dealership can ask themselves, is this lead source a good lead source? Because I've got high volume and low engagement, and I know I've got good deliverability, but people just are too high in the funnel for what I'm paying for them. Maybe it's a good lead source for less money, but we're starting to be able to arm dealers with that kind of analytics to coincide or to go with the reporting they're getting from their CRM. So we're given another way to measure effectiveness of the way they're spending their money.
And that is so key to me, because that's something I definitely look at as well, to say, hey, you're paying XYZ provider, you're closing this at 2%. Let's take a look. Is it a product problem? Is this a people problem? Or is this a process problem? Because it's going to be one of the three.
Right.
And just figuring that out and truly doing that optimization. Speaking of optimizing operations, let's highlight a tool that epitomizes efficiency in the digital age. Meet Contactter.AI, the AI-powered solution that turns website visitors into real customers. Instantly engage, qualify leads, and book appointments, all without lifting a finger. Fast, smart, and always on. Boost conversions, maximize revenue, and never miss an opportunity again. Contactter.AI, because your customers expect instant answers. Start enhancing your customer engagement today with Contactter.AI. And Marod, as I go through all this, and the tool is great. Yes, it is. What I've seen it be able to do versus some other tools, that has really blown me away. Of like, I know when we very first started talking and figuring and learning more about the product,
right?
It was, we do majority of email. And then since that conversation, you're like, well, now we do text. Well, now we do this. Well, now we do this. And all these little things that you guys continue to make the product better and to make it more robust has been really cool to watch in just a very short amount of time.
Yeah, thank you. It helps that everyone on the team besides for putting code in, we all came out of retail automotive and many, many years in retail automotive. And so the sales process, the service process, the life cycle of the customer and getting a hold of a customer, we really feel like we understand that from years in the store. And then we have some ideas sometimes, but we always want to stay within the scope of, for example, with texting first, with the FTC, we study it and then figure out a way where it's legal to do. It's not just this for the sake of doing it. It enhances everything else we're doing, and we end up with another cool product feature. And that's kind of like one of the things that happened with texting, with texting and emailing at the same time. About 25% of our customers just keep texting. So all we're doing is letting them know that the email's in their email box. We're not marketing to them. We're not trying to sell them anything. So it's a fine text to get. But once they say, hey, yes, this is my number, and I'd like to continue texting, that they just keep going on the text. So that piece of it, and we're always it's fun to watch and learn as we go also. So it's a two-way street.
Well, you were showing me an example of one of your clients that I don't want to say they completely dismantled the BDC, but more or less that's what happened. And the success rate of what's happened now by having an AI do the work for them, I was really surprised by those numbers, because you always think, okay, I need to have 1 or 2 points of contact here to just make sure if the AI goes off the rails or there's a question, hey, is it available? The AI is not going to know. So having someone jump at that point. But it was really interesting to see, okay, is this possible? Right. And so far that store is doing pretty damn well. So yeah. I think it is.
Yeah. And again, if I want to make sure, coming from me also, just like you, Brooke, if you're using a BDC today and it's working for you, I think that's awesome. And it's great. There is stores, and whether they're larger stores or smaller stores or chain stores, there are stores that haven't found the secret sauce to that. And so it's been kind of a big expense without the necessary return on investment. And those are a lot of times where we can help be able to take over some of that functionality you get from that process, and then introduce more return on investment just by lowering the cost substantially.
Well, even if having the BDC in-house, AI is just there to help. Like
exactly.
all that crap follow-up that your CRM's telling you need to email, text, and berate them with messages when you really don't need to be doing that. Having something else in place to streamline that, give that time back to your employees to say, go do something valuable with your time, which is not following up with the same message 15 times. Like it's just not. Right. You've got way more that you can do to bring in a greater ROI, not only to the store. If it goes to the store, it's going in my pocketbook as well. So these are all good things.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
All right. So with the adoption of such it's really sophisticated tools like we're talking about, what's your approach to ensuring that AI integration complements rather than replaces human interactions within dealerships?
So we've made the decision to do a couple of different things. Number one is we look at it. We call our AI an assistant for the dealership, or for the salespeople in general, or for the service people. And so one of the things we do, I think that's different than many companies out there, is we follow the business rules in the CRM. So, for example, if a lead gets assigned to you, Brooke, the AI will introduce you in the first or second, third email once we know that you're assigned to the lead in the CRM, we want to introduce you and put that human in the loop. Be able to answer questions, be able to engage the customer, make those several attempts to get in front of the customer that it sometimes takes, because people are busy. But when we do, we want to introduce you and get you into the process. So again, we want to augment your current process, not completely turn it upside down and change it. If you're using Calendly, for example, we want to be able to give that to the customer to help you set an appointment with them. But at the end of the day, we still pretty feel strongly that people sell cars to people they like that like them.
Mhm.
And our objective is to try to get you engaged and help get them into the showroom so that you guys can do a car deal. And so that hasn't changed for us in a long time. We're just using more and more sophisticated tools to help that journey, if you will.
Before we get to the next question, I just want to talk a little like how you, once again, you guys continue to say, how can we improve? To my knowledge, you're the only company that I've seen at this point we're recording this on March 10th at 12:30 p.m. on Central Time, that you go, yeah, if the customer says, hey, I'm going to be out of town for a week, Contactter.AI automatically is like, okay, why would I continue to contact the customer if I know they're out of town,
right?
Or they can't, they're not going to be able to respond back. Like, it's got that intuitiveness. Is that a word? Intuity? I don't know. What's one of those words?
It's just smart.
It's smart. Unlike me, who needs more caffeine, apparently. So, but that was something that really blew me away. I was like, wow, that's the first I've been able to see that it will say it can extrapolate from the conversation when I need to follow up again, versus the CRM saying follow up when there's no need to. That was another really cool thing that I liked, and a feature that I liked of Contactter.AI. So all these technologies right there. So there's so much out there. You're integrating a lot. So when you're trying to integrate new technology, there often comes a few hurdles, to say the least. So what common challenges might dealerships encounter when adopting AI into their marketing strategies, and how can they be navigated?
Yeah, great question. And I touched on it just a little bit earlier, but a lot of it has to do with the support from the top down. If it's going to be a process in the store and you're going to adopt the technology, you got to kind of have everybody on board. We've got to have salespeople that validate the email address and do certain little things as we go through setting the system up, so that they get their alerts, so that they can see the notes in the CRM. A lot of what we do is kind of about the install. It's very rapid. It doesn't take very long, but it's having the involvement and the people standing behind it. I've had two different experiences 180 degrees apart. You've got the person that's, man, I can't wait to get this, Dave. Call me anytime. Here's my cell number. If you need something, let me know, and I'll get it to you. And they're wildly successful. And then I've got the GM I've got to chase down and drag, kicking and screaming, because he knows he needs AI, but like getting his time to just help me get it right. Those are challenging stores to make successful when they just don't have that support from the top down.
And I'll take that one step further as well, as yeah. I'm like listening to you, and I'm just like smiling, because I'm like, yep, been there multiple times. Even with it is, hey, someone makes a decision that we're going to go AI, and the communication is not. There was no communication at all. We'll put it that way. And so now you got a lot of people pissed off at you, thinking it's coming from their job, when if a simple conversation would have had with every single person, hey, this is what we're doing. This is how it's going to improve. We need everyone on board. Honestly, if you're not on board, there's the door. Here's how it's going to help. And if you embrace this is what's going to happen. Versus telling the owner or the GM making a decision, put it in there, and then everyone freaking out because what is this stupid robot doing?
Right.
I see that a lot.
Yep. And and here's another thing that we do that could be controversial, but it's not supposed to be. We'll wait 48 hours after a contact or engagement has been made, and we'll reach out to the customer and just say, hey, are you all set? Did you get everything taken care of? Did you get everything you needed? Mm-hmm. And if the customer says anything but yes, then we have an escalation, if the store wants, where we can send it to a manager and let them know, like, hey, this customer still doesn't feel like they got what they deserved or wanted or asked for. The salesperson could have sent it. They could have went to a spam folder. It could have got caught up, or the salesperson could have been off that day, not seeing the email. 100 things could have went wrong. And so we're not trying to say you did a bad job. We're just saying, look, catch this customer before they go somewhere else because they don't feel like they've been served 100%. And so we're kind of also, for a lot of stores, a safety net. We let somebody know if, hey, we thought that was all set. We thought it was taken care of. It's logged in the CRM. Well, if the customer doesn't feel like it happened, then it didn't happen. It's kind of like that old adage. So a lot of times what we do is that conversation of, hey, we are simply here to help and make sure nothing slips through the cracks, rather than, making sure you're doing your job. That's not what we're here doing.
No, I love everything about that. We touched on this a little bit earlier about just FTC compliance and what a fun that game is. But there's a lot of stringent regulations out there. Like we both are very, very well aware of this. So what are the major compliance challenges impacting dealerships today?
So it depends on dealers, and we all know, not just dealers, vendors too. Text is a great channel of communication. It's more personal and closer to you. You've always got your phone. You do it for email also, but email is just one of those things that people aren't as passionate about as they are when they get a text that comes in. And the law is very explicit about what you can text, how you can text, and what the business conditions are for texting. So we spend a lot of time on that to make it a tool that is an add-on and not a liability for you. And so that's one of the things that we spend a lot of time working and doing. And that's kind of the one that pops into my head the most lately is just being compliant with your use of text. You can't just take your manifest list if they got a phone number and start texting everybody about a new car special. You gotta, there's an art and a science and a legality to it. We help dealers navigate that.
I think I told you this story, but I recently got a new car. And I'm still getting, the lease has been turned in. The car has been grounded. I am still getting text messages from one dealership, two dealerships that I turned the car in 2 months ago. And one of those dealerships, I have not had any two-way communication in 3.5 years. I go, you can't keep texting me, guys. It's illegal to do. So yeah, and it's very frustrating when it's like, that, or you've opted out of something, they still send you stuff. And I also feel, maybe this is just from my own perception, when it comes to text messaging and I hit type and stop, that is instant versus an email. We all know how many times we have opted out of a freaking email blast and we can't get out of it. It's like this circle of death. You mark it as spam. It somehow resurrects 3 days later and it's still there. I'm like, why the hell is going on right now?
100%.
So I think that's from a compliance standpoint, like it's easier to opt out of stuff. It's not necessarily easier with the other texting regulations, but for me, that's what I found trying to get out of the marketing mayhem, to say the least.
And I'm trying to figure out how the politicians get around it because I get so many of those.
Thank you. Yes, 100%. Yeah. I have an iPhone now, but I used to have an Android, and it would automatically throw all of those into a junk text folder. So I never saw them, which was great. And I love my iPhone. It is very difficult. I don't like the fact that it doesn't automatically throw it to spam. So that's a whole other story, but yes.
Agreed.
All right. So before we wrap up here, I want to know if you can share some advice on those in the automotive industry who might just be a little skeptical about integrating AI into their current operations.
So my advice is try it. You just try it. Most of the companies nowadays are like us. It's month to month. Let us earn our keep type of thing. If you're gonna try it with a company, I'd give them 90 days. It takes them a while to figure some stuff out. But have the conversation with your team and make sure you're all on board. Don't take. I've had so many times. Hey Dave, I'm shopping. My owner told me I need to put AI in this here. Understand why you're putting AI in and understand what goals you're trying to accomplish with artificial intelligence, whether it's, helping out your BDC, whether it's having more service appointments on ROs that are on a timely manner. a lot of that stuff, people will say, hey, I already send out a card in the mail when somebody's due for an oil change. I'm like, how's that working for you?
How you tracking that one?
That one never even makes it into my house. It's just a recycle bin on the way in,
Yep.
but it's when someone says, hey, by the way, I was just checking our records and noticed you needed an oil change. And you get a couple of those over the course of a week, like, hey, let me call on that or something. So we've got great results on that, but understand what your goal is, you want to try to do, and what you're trying to do with AI. And I think that'll go a long way towards getting the right vendor, the right partner, and having success and a good return for it.
That's beautifully said, my friend. Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Well, we are at that point of the show. We're going to jump the right line now with you, buddy. So for those that are watching, you're going to see his QR code right below here. But those that are listening in podcast land, how can they find you and how can they get in touch with you?
So we are at Contactor, Contactter.AI or silentpartner.ai, or you can find me on LinkedIn, David Marod, and just DM me. There's lots of ways to get a hold of us. And again, even if it's just questions, I've been in the AI business for the last 15 years, 14 years. Was one of the original people with Conversco when we started. And so, and then, we branched out on our own. And so even if you just got some questions, I'm more than happy to share some love. And I've got a pretty good finger on the pulse of what's going on.
Or if you happen to be in Bellingham, I'm sure he's on a boat somewhere. He's at the yacht club, maybe snowmobiling. Well, you'll find him in one of those areas. I hit my mic right now. So. Yes. All right. The name of the show was Facts, Not Feelings. So how are you distinguishing facts from feelings, whether that's in your personal life or in your professional life?
For me, I am just a fan of constantly Googling. I think people, especially nowadays with the political climate and stuff, people have these biases that they want to push, or they see something they agree with, and so they forward it or share it, and I'm like, that's not real. So I find myself nowadays Googling a lot of things and finding fact from fiction, which I think it's one thing to have feelings, but fact is a different thing. So I spend a lot of time fact checking, if you will.
Amen to that. Yeah. And I've gotten the point that I'm rarely on Google. Like if it's something for work, I'll do it, right? I've got to go check how they're ranking, all that fun stuff. But from like personally, I'm almost solely searching things in ChatGPT and then getting the references. Now, once again, I am the human. So just last week, I was trying to get some information. I was like, hey, only have Google support articles. So it gives me like 3. Of those 3, 2 were a 404 error. I was like, well, let's try that again. But I can quickly, without trying to go through just like so much shit that you're trying to like sift through to say, hey, is this good? Is this bad? I now can quickly go do that. So I'm also a huge fan of that. All right. So what is one thing that most people wouldn't know about you?
I used to race Grand Prix motorcycles professionally.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
I've fallen down a lot too on them.
I would imagine as much. 100%.
The height of that is I raced with an AMA event during the MotoGP event at Laguna Seca. That was kind of the highlight of my road racing career, if you will.
That is so cool. There's like little things like Greg Ash is like same thing. Obviously we both know each other for a hot minute, sure. And he throws down the racing. I was like, dude, how did I not know this about you? Like these little like nuances you just don't know about people. And the Grand Prix one, that's a big one to know. I like that.
Yeah, bittersweet. I'm glad it's over.
Yeah, my body is thanking me at this point. Yes. All right, well, Marod, thank you so much for being on the show. And for those that don't know him, you now know him. Reach out to him. Contactor with 2 T's, by the way, 2 T's because I've spelled it wrong. I don't know how many times. 2 T's there. It's an incredible product. I've seen it firsthand. I've not only watched the demo, I've seen other stores that have success with it. So definitely reach out to this man. And you all know the drill at this point. Find a way to serve, whether that is opening a car door, whether that is a kind smile. Just do something to better someone's life today. And with that, everyone, we'll see everybody next week.